Toto je Western. Frajer, který svoji první motorku postavil mnohem dříve, než dokončil střední školu. A dnes si na nás udělal čas, aby nám popsal svůj příběh. A taky nám ukázal, co se ukrývá v jeho dílně.
Right here is Will Ferrell, the actor. It's his cousin's bike, which is, his name's Will Ferrell as well. He's a famous actor here. This is a customer's bike. We're doing some handlebars on, some vape hangers, some service work. We got all kinds of projects. You know, further back here we have some full custom projects we're building, and a lot of motor work lately. Work on just about anything that we deem fit. A lot of Harleys, mainly Harleys. We do work on some metric bikes, all kinds of wild, crazy custom bikes. You know, stuff with V8s. You know, this is a Boss Hoss right here. We're doing some repairs and bringing it back to life. It's an old one. It's from 1988 when I was born, and. Doing some work on it there. This is a Dyna that I built for a friend of mine. I built it to kind of look like my bike out there in the front, and he wanted it so bad, but I wouldn't sell it to him, so he brought me another bike and had me build it into this, which is pretty similar to mine. This is a bike that we're building for a guy right here. It's got a big motor in it, and it's all brand new, fresh powder-coated frame, custom rims, doing some cool stuff with it. It's got a slew of custom parts that still go on it. Nice paint work. This is a Cholo bike that we're building for a guy. Doing some cool custom rims. We've already done a bunch of motor work. This is an older bike, so it's kind of got going for this nostalgic look. He wants us to do like this anniversary style paint job on it that's like got some wild twists to it. That's kind of Cholo looking, Mexican sort of.
Yeah, so it's gonna be for the streets of LA or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I've seen those over there. I see there's a California license plate, so I guess you have customers from all over the US, right?
That's a repo bike. That plate probably shouldn't be on there anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That one was repoed out of California, and a guy like did some work for it or something, and he brought it in. The transmission is blown to smithereens, so we're working on bringing that one together. He's wanting us to finish it for the 23rd, so he can do his gender reveal for his new baby that's coming out. So I don't think we're going to make it. We're having much bigger problems than expected there. It's an old bike, and I kind of modernized it and tricked it out a little bit. It's not about what you can buy, it's about what you do in my line of work, you know what I mean? So I've kind of, breathed some new life into this old thing, and it's my touring bike. It's the bike I take trips on. I put my wife, my dog on the back, not at the same time. Dog weighs 50 pounds.
Yeah.
But my dog sits on the back. She has goggles that she wears and stuff. It's pretty cool.
Either a dog or a wife, right?
Yeah.
You can have both.
It depends on which one complains less. I usually take the dog. This one here is one that I built for a guy a couple of years ago, and it got damaged, and we're rebuilding it. We're just about finished with it. We just have to put a gas tank back on it and a front fender. The paint just got all fixed. The guy's wife got really upset with him and took a hammer to it. And she was swinging the hammer and screaming over it, and destroyed the whole front half of the bike. It was smoked. So we had to replace the whole front end, the headlight. This was all smashed up. The top of the tank as well. So they separated. This is a supercharger bike that we're working on. It's a newer Harley Street Glide touring bike. It's a Maggard. And we're putting this S&S 124 motor in it with a supercharger on it. And it's going to be like 200 horsepower. New, this bike runs pretty good. It's probably 70 horse. So it's going to be incredible. It's pretty cool looking.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Kind of that Cholo beach cruiser type of look.
I've seen
cool
those
rims on it. It's got like a gator skin seat that's like a pearl white. Looks pretty sharp. The thing's just so chromed out. It's an older bike, it's a 97. Really nostalgic looking.
So what is like the oldest bike you have done?
probably like 1928. This one right here is a 1965 pan head. This is the last pan, and guy just brought it in. He's owned it for 40 years, and it is his ever-loving pride and joy. Most important possession he owns. He's a really cool guy. He had this bike covered in Easy Rider magazine in 1988 when I was born, and he brought us the magazine. He didn't tell us anything about the bike. He just showed us the book. He's like, "This is me. This is my bike. It's all taken apart. I want you to put it back together."
Damn.
He had searched all over the place for someone to do it. He talked me into coming to his house and checking it out, where it was sitting and how it was for the last 40 years. And we got it down to the shop, and we're going to be rebuilding it for him. He's a truck driver, and he's on the road, and we're fixing his ride. This one here, we've pretty much rebuilt the entire bike. It came in with a blown motor and no charging system, all kinds of problems, and we've just been resolving things. It was basically a full custom show bike that was never really rideable. It's kind of a trailer queen, and the owner wants to ride it. We're reinforcing things and doing things to make it usable. He even wants to put his girlfriend on the back seat. I said he's crazy.
Damn.
He needs to get her on another bike.
That's like an extra challenge, right?
Yeah. This bike right here is a 1970 Honda CL350. Not this bike, but I had another one that was exactly the same. That was my first motorcycle I ever had. It was given to me, and I got it up and running and started riding it before I even was old enough to get my license on the street. I put like 1,500 miles on it, and it looked just like that. Mine was red and white, but like picture this, but with way more rust. So that was mine.
In what age did you discover your passion for motorcycles in general?
Me and my dad built my first mini bike when I was 6 years old.
Oh, okay.
And, he had me help him a lot with it and do a lot of things, and we were using a torch, doing all kinds of stuff like that. So pretty early on.
So your dad influenced you to do that?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, his requirement, my dad's a tattoo artist and does custom paint, and
makes sense, yeah.
And he was a welder fabricator for a long time, and he's an artist in every way. And his requirement for me to be able to get my first tattoo from him was to learn how to weld. So I learned how to weld, and I got my first tattoo. Just kind of got a bike and some pistons in it, and I don't know, here we are.
Yeah, well, a little bit, right?
Yeah, I've been tuning motorcycles on the street for a long time, which is really difficult and dangerous, and we just put in a motorcycle dyno so I can do all of my tuning right here, and all the screens up there have all the readouts and stuff like that. I can take a bike right to its max and not have to worry about little old ladies out on the road.
The streets and stuff.
This is a customer's bike here we're tuning. We had done a bunch of performance work on it a while ago, and he decided that the exhaust was too loud, so he had us put a quieter exhaust system on it in general, and then we put a quieter baffle inside that exhaust. Well, this bike makes a lot of power. I've done some performance work to it, like I said. So this morning I was trying to tune it, and it literally broke the new baffle in half and shot it out the exhaust and blew down the street while I was trying to tune it. I swear, this was all dust and everything, and the metal came flying out. It was nuts. This thing makes quite a bit of power, and that baffle just got spit out.
Just another day at work, right?
Pretty much. We usually have like 50, 60 bikes in the shop at one time. All of them for different reasons. Some of them are like more long-term builds. Like something like this, you can't just start and finish in a week. Where we're doing 20 oil changes too. This is an
oxygen tank, right?
Yeah, his mother-in-law's oxygen bottles. They were like real tall.
Yeah.
And we needed to make some sort of cool oil tank system for it, and I'm like, man, we need to buy 2 nitrous bottles and put them together. And he's like, oh, bottles? Oh, I can get some bottles. So he brought me his mother-in-law's oxygen bottles, and he left her wheezing at home on the couch without them. And I built some custom oil tanks out of them. I kind of took the 2 uppers in one of the bases and sort of widened them together and made a whole oil system. So it's got like dual caps. So it's pretty cool. I turned these on the lathe so it looked like ball milled rib, pretty sharp. And I had to cut out the bottle right here to pass the chain through it. And you know, that's all function, but it really molds into the body nicely too. It complements all the lines. That was very difficult
that is a
to weld out
through
the
inside
inside of that because you can't get to it.
Yeah, there's a cut through the bottle. Nice.
See the exhaust system here? I built this whole exhaust. You know, it goes 2 into 1 and then back into 2. That's pretty unique. And one of the reasons I did it is because the kickstart's so close, it has to be, be able to pass it.
Oh yeah.
And the customer wanted to go straight down and straight up. So I got an exhaust donut. You can get it looks like a donut with a hole in the center, and you cut it in half, and I was able to make these 2 U's. This piece here looked like a Pringle chip. It was pretty unique. And that's all cut open there, and it literally flows 2 into 2, but it is 2 into 1 into 2. Then these were handmade. I have like an hour into every single one of these ribs right here. They all had to be hand welded on, and then it was all chromed. It was very difficult to build those. This right here is for a suicide shifter. This old motor, it's old iron head motor. The guy's had it since 74, owned it since 74. Well, he wanted to be a suicide shifter with the clutch on it on the left side, but this old motor was the right side shift. So I had to come up with this jack shaft setup to pipe it over to that side, and then went to the suicide shifter. It's pretty cool. He's an old truck driver, so he wanted kind of that feel.
Have the feeling, yeah.
And then once I did these, and I built these to kind of match. I built the air cleaner to sort of match the exhaust. I custom made all these accessories on my equipment by hand, and then had them chromed.
Yeah, everything has a story on it.
It does. And in this one's case, 2 stories, because we built it, and then his wife destroyed it, and then we had to rebuild it. The first time we built it, we had 998 hours into the construction of, hand making every single bit of it. Now, keep in mind, the gas tank's not on it, and the front fender's not on it, and they're gorgeous. They're over there on the bench. But it's a pretty cool bike. He's excited to get it back, that's for sure. These are my guys, this is Justin and LJ. They're awesome guys. Hard workers, that's for sure. Well, both of these, this is one of mine. I bought it years ago from a little old lady. She's a school teacher, and it was ugly as sin. It was just the ugliest thing I'd ever seen. Big tour pack on the back and giant windshield with this rubber rail and big crash bars and all this stuff. And I stripped it all down the day that I got it, and I picked it up in a trailer. I'd taken it apart in my trailer before I'd gotten home. I just couldn't stand it. And then I had to drop a set of wheels off to a customer that I just finished some tires on for him. And he's like, man, what's all that stuff? I'm like, oh, I just took it off this bike I just bought. He's like, man, my wife's got the same bike. She would love that stuff. He bought it all right there on the spot. But I started riding the thing. I'd done a couple things to it to trick it out. I started riding it, and I kind of fell in love with it. I just planned on reselling it.
That's why you have it on display out here?
Well, I just brought it here. It's not finished yet. I've been working on it for like 6 years. I kind of fell in love with the bike and then decided to completely just do a custom build to it. So I started with like a crankshaft and cases, and like built every single part of the motor. It's all customized. And to take boost, a supercharger. So it's got a ProCharger supercharger on it, pushing like 20 pounds of boost, and the motor is all super custom looking. This thing's gonna be like 230, 240 horsepower, which is just absolutely insane out of a Harley. So it's gonna be a pretty radical bike, but it's kind of the best of everything to be able to take this kind of power. I'm custom tooling the leather for the top of the seat, and I've already done the bottom. It's kind of like this cheetah print, initials into it and stuff. It's all polished, and I'm custom tooling the leather. I did this tattoo on myself right here, and I'm tooling it into the leather that I'm putting on the seat.
Oh, okay.
So it should be pretty cool, making some little changes to it. But this is the supercharger over here, And, you know, it sucks air in through here and blows it over through the other side and through an intercooler and cools the air and then into the motor through a bonnet.
That's really unusual to have a supercharger on a motorcycle, isn't it?
It's rare because it's expensive.
It's more like a Western specialty.
I've done several of them,
yeah,
and they're awesome. It's the only way.
I haven't seen it anywhere else. That's why I mentioned it. That's all.
Well,
I have 3 here right now.
Well, is the reason why you put the supercharger on it that you want to have just better performance, or like just like be just way better than anyone else? Like you are able to provide. So you are able to provide that power to guys who just like to ride with the passion, but also once in a while see what the bike can do, right?
Yeah, no
Something
doubt,
like that.
No doubt.
Yeah,
definitely.
And that's perfect.
Show and go, you know. And this is advertisement. It's you know, it's what I do, and it's also something I like to do.
Nice. Nice.
This is one of my other bikes. I built this one when I was 17. I built the whole frame, everything on it's all handmade. I started with an I-beam from a building, like in the rafters of a building. From the neck all the way to the tip of the tail is one continuous I-beam laid on its side. And then all the body and everything is custom-made sheet metal I did. I made the seat pan, and it's got a fuel tank and a fuel pump and a coil, everything inside here. This is the oil tank, it's a nitrous bottle. Looks pretty cool. Then the bike's got like a real drag bike stance to it, and side pipes like on an old Corvette or some hot rod. And then I inject fuel into the exhaust system and ignite it with spark plugs. This thing will shoot 6 or 8 feet of fire out of both sides. It's pretty intense, like burn your face off fire. It's a pretty unique frame design. I'd never seen anything like it, but I wanted to do something unique. You know, when you're starting off building custom motorcycles, you can't be like everybody else, so
yeah,
do something different. So I was sitting in there in high school, hating it, bored, and drawing motorcycles as I did every day in high school. And we drew this up on paper, and I went home and I showed my dad, and he's like, "Oh, that's really cool. Let's make it out of cardboard, a scale model of it." So we did, and then we went and bought some steel, and made it out of steel. Bought I was 17 at that time, so my dad helped me buy a Buell, which is as close to Harley Davidson as I could get for what I could afford. It's a Harley motor, and then we used the forks, rims, and brakes, and just built everything else. Everything's handmade on it.
So is this your first bike that you have ever?
No, it's my first Harley I ever built.
First Harley, okay.
Yeah. I built several metric bikes before this. One right here, I built this when I was 15. I was just finishing that as I was starting that. And this I called the airplane bike. And it had like Cessna wheel cover looking things on the wheels. It was pretty unique. And it looked like it was sliding down the road because you couldn't see the wheels spin. It just had like this airplane sort of look and stance to it.
Futuristic look,
yeah.
some sort of.
This is my dad's bike. It's pretty awesome. It's a 93 Heritage Softail he bought brand new when I was 4. And I pretty much grew up on it and around it and all that stuff. And,
do you think you would end up doing what you're doing if your dad wouldn't be into it as well?
Probably not, and it goes a little deeper. My parents had kids, and my dad got rid of his bike, and then my mom got cancer, and she was really sick, and she knew she was going to pass away. So she told my dad to, like, with whatever life insurance or insurance money or whatever the case was at the time, once she passed away, to go buy a brand new Harley, and he was. No, I'll put it towards our kids' education or do something like that. And my mom passed away when I was 4, and my aunt, my mother's sister, talked my dad into going and buying a brand new Harley. So he went down to the Harley dealership in Buffalo, New York, and Harley dealerships were different back then. There wasn't 100 motorcycles sitting there. There was like 1 or 2, and you had to order the one you wanted, and it was like a lottery to win it. There was like a line, and you maybe get that color and stuff. Well, there was a teal one when he went in there, and he almost bought it. He decided to wait for the candy apple red. So that's the bike I'd grown up on and around.
Oh, okay.
This is like its 3rd custom face that it's had.
Oh, okay.
Now, this is my stepmother on it, and in the painting. She's attractive, even now. So my dad did the painting, married the girl, built the bike. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, well,
he's a pretty talented guy.
What a story, right?
I build them, he paints them.
Got it.
This stuff here is pretty crazy intricate for any bike, even show bikes. You know, I put, you know, Chop Shop, because it's part of the name of my shop, on the front of the triple trees, and I made all this stuff, cut it out so you can see the gold through it. Some giant front brakes to be able to stop this thing. It's going to make a lot of power. I finished it when I was 17.
But you are never satisfied, right?
I've still been working on it, you know.
So
always.
This bike is, you finished this one when you were 17, but what about your first one? You said when you were 15 you finished your first bike.
When I built that when I was 15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what did you do with this one?
That one I sold to a guy in Daytona. He bought it and I guess shipped it to Ireland. I never heard anything.
Oh.
And 16 years went by and I was pretty curious where the bike was, but I had no way to find it or look it up or anything. He was like a guy that bought bikes and just sold them to guys in Ireland. Like 2 years ago, I got an email from someone that said, hey, I have this motorcycle here and it has your sticker on it. And you know, it has your name.
Yeah.
And you know, do you know anything about it? Have you ever seen it? And sent this picture and I'm like, holy shit, there it is. Like, oh my gosh. And it was like clean. It was like I gave it to him the day before. It was perfect. He sold it to a wealthy motorcycle collector in Ireland that owned 38 motorcycles.
Oh, okay.
The wealthy motorcycle collector got to a motorcycle accident in Ireland. They terrible roads there apparently, and died. So the collection of motorcycles along with the property and building went to his daughter and her husband, and that's quite a collection. 38 bikes, like old panheads, like stuff that's wicked expensive, old Harleys, and then this bike, and everybody's like, what is that thing? Like, is it like,
it's different from everything else, right?
Is it worth a lot? Is it worth nothing? It's crazy looking, it's unique. Man, I want my picture with it. Like, what is it? So all the collection of motorcycles was gone and there was just one bike. So the guy wanted to figure out where it came from, and so he got in contact with me. I spoke to him and he wanted to sell it back to me. I wanted to buy it back, and we agreed on a price. It was what I sold it for.
40 grand?
Less than that.
Okay.
But he couldn't find any paperwork on it, no title or anything, which made it very difficult to ship and impossible for it to be registered here. I would still get it if I couldn't register it here, but he then sold the building and the motorcycle with it.
Oh, damn. And so this whole thing just ended up whatever.
Now it's spiraling. So now the new owner, which just wanted the building, has this motorcycle, and I think he like emailed me one time while my wife was sick and I couldn't really get back to him. I was too busy, stuff going on, and I didn't get it back, and now no one's responding. So
nice.
The little logo of mine that he's seen on it, and it's funny that it's even there because it's covering a defect. The very first time that I rode the bike, the brake boss, which holds the brake from turning, broke, and it swung around and hit the inside of the body and fractured the fiberglass. And I didn't want to fix it. It was a pretty fancy paint job.
So you just put a sticker over it?
Oh, yep.
That's the easy way how to do it, right?
Super cheesy way to go about it, but I was becoming less interested in that project and way more interested in that project. And that's kind of where I was. And I was going to high school. I had a full-time job and was kind of.
Man, that's pretty impressive. Like you're going to high school and you are able to build that. Like, come on, like this is beyond impressive, you know.
Took a drawing of it and I taped it up to the air conditioning duct in my dad's garage, and then we built it.
What is like your thing? How people can tell that this is your bike? Is there something that is that unique?
I feel I have a pretty good ability to kind of connect with people and understand their needs on what they're asking for and looking for. You know, and I mix that with the knowledge I know about motorcycles. And you know, I was a tattoo artist in my dad's tattoo shop for 5 years. And you know, you're pretty hands-on when you're a tattoo artist, right, Larry?
Yes.
So you really have to kind of get to know and understand the person. And my dad has been a tattoo artist his whole life, so I'm pretty influenced by a person that's wired that way. You know what I mean? So, you know, I feel like I can connect with people pretty well on that level. And I have crazy attention to detail, probably a little ADHD on that level, but that's good.
That's good.
People seem to like it.
Yeah.
So,
How many years you've been doing it for now?
Probably since I was 13. I'm 33 now. Yeah,
20 years.
I kind of started my business in 2005. I graduated high school in 2006. So like, you know, I didn't really have like a building with a sign in 2005, but like I was working on customers' bikes. Guys would bring me their bikes in my dad's garage, and I'd work on them when I wasn't at school or working on mine.
That is
like
just crazy.
Chopping frames and doing stuff like that.
That is just crazy. You started your business before you even graduated from high school, you know?
We're working on renovating it. We're going to paint the floor and kind of set it up more for customers, sort of waiting room slash, you know, showroom extension. Also, we got parts and stuff like that over here. We're going to have a lot of new products over here coming soon. This is a customer's bike that we did several years ago. It's one of my dad's custom paint jobs on it. It's pretty unique. The bike was originally that color when he had bought the bike in a lot less custom, you know, way, and then he brought it to us and had us trick it out, and we like rebuilt the whole motor and diamond cut it all and powder coated all that purple that he really liked, and did this really wild front end on it. And you know, like I said, my dad's custom paint job, which is kind of like a hell to heaven type of story of this guy's life. You know, he kind of started life, you know, as a sinner, and then kind of later in life learned some lessons and found God, and back here is redemption across the back fender, and kind of heaven, and here's, you know, Jesus, and kind of the gates to keys to heaven. This is someone kind of like they're imprisoned and burning, like they're in hell, like their hands against glass. And that's the only artwork that's done in color on this bike, besides you know, the white with the purple candy over it. You know, this is done in something other than purple or this orangish color. It's a pretty cool bike. It's for sale right now. It's all decked out with LED lights and stuff like that. This 84 shovel head I picked up, and it had been sitting for 9 years, and we cleaned out the tanks and cleaned the carb a little bit and put a battery in it, and it fired right up like it ran the day before.
After 8
years.
It was
pretty impressive.
Nice.
This is a full custom bagger that we've started building, and are probably 60% through, and every bit of it's handmade. The whole frame, it sits right on the frame, no kickstand. It's all air ride suspension, front and rear, and it's got a 300 rear tire. It's real wide. It's like a one-off custom rim in the back. They both match. A 26-inch rim up front. It's all air ride, and I'm going to be building custom gas tanks for it. It's all sheet metal work. This seat, you know, I made the pan and foamed it, shaped it to fit the owner. And it's got real extreme, like extended saddlebags that can, like, you know, go out the back there and check out the tail. It's pretty unique. It's kind of got like a hole cut through it so you can see the tire.
Like a cockroach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, it's sitting down on the blocks right now on the frame, like on the air ride. But when you lift it up, it could be 10.5 inches off the ground.
Wow.
So
10.5.
Yeah,
Nice.
it could go way. You wouldn't ride it there necessarily, but
yeah,
you could lift it up there if you needed to.
Nice.
Take it off-roading. This is a full custom here. It's got a real lot of custom sheet metal work that I've done on it. Pretty unique bike. It's pretty much in full mock-up. Needs some fabrication work finished on it, wired and painted and wired. But right now it's looking for a new owner.
Are you the one who came up with this style with this design?
Yeah, this is a, so he brought me a bike. He thought he was kind of a bike builder at one point, and he had bought some nice products, and then I had, you know, went and picked it up from him and started putting things together and fixing things. And, you know, we had a bike sitting there, what looked like a bike, and, you know, he wanted to do something super wild and custom. So, you know, to design something like that, I started, you know, doing mock-ups in cardboard and show the customer, you know, what it could look like or what it will look like. And, you know, he'd come by, man, that's awesome, I love it. And, you know, do it, build it out of steel. And then he'd come by the next week, and I would have had build it out of steel. And, you know, he has the ability to, I want to change this line, or man, the seat's not quite what I was thinking, or, you know, he has the ability to custom fit it to his every need. So you're building the motorcycle through my hands, but with your
ideas.
Ideas.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, this looks...
Yeah, that one's got air ride in the back. It's got some really unique 3D cut rims. Yeah, this one, when the air ride's all the way down, it doesn't roll, so it's kind of a security device.
Okay.
But if your air goes out, you don't roll. So.
Yeah, makes sense.
And it has a huge motor. It's 128 cubic inch. It's all billet aluminum. It's a Patrick's Racing motor. That thing's going to make some serious power. It's all internal hand controls and stuff. It's a pretty cool bike. I did kind of like a cross right there, motor mount, which also is just kind of cool looking, but it acts as like a scoop. You know, the front's cut out and the back is pitched at an angle, so it directs the air towards the rear cylinder. Now V-twins, the rear cylinder runs hotter because it's taking the heat from the front one. So it's kind of cut open there to cool it.
I would just like to thank you for that, because we took like hour of your precious time, you know. I'm sure people really, yeah, same. I'm sure people really enjoy that, because you know those kind of designs and those kind of styles of the bikes, that's not something you can see, you know, on
show and go
everyday base, right?
Not just show and not just go. It's got to look
both,
good,
right?
And be fast.
Yeah. Can you just tell me, like, let's say the regular like price range as a like a last thing, like when it comes to like the bikes? So of course depends, right? But
a lot of times these days we're customizing a Harley or some sort of motorcycle, and you know, people can put, you know, $2 grand into a bike and make things pretty cool, or they could put 20 grand into a bike and make things really cool and fast. Depends on what they're going for and what they can afford. You know, some of the full custom bikes that we build are built by the hour in time, material, and parts. You know.
Damn, and you said so, like 900 hours for like one of those.
That's a $52,000 bike. And when I built that bike, my hourly rate was lower. It was a couple of years ago. So now it would be more. That one, he has around 72,000 wrapped up in at this time, and it's 60% finished.
Nice.
You know, some bikes could range from 20 to 40. You could build a really nice full custom bike from. The wild, crazy sheet metal work, that's just by the hour, and it is what it is to make it look how you want to. Usually guys that want that stuff say, how cool can you make my bike? Now, how much is it going to cost to make my bike cool? Those bikes don't usually become real intense. So there's different levels, just like every asset in life.
Yeah, that's true. All right, thank you very much.
Sure.
It's nice to meeting you. I mean, great work. You know, what else can we say? You know?
Thank you.